So it is always a pleasure to welcome Poppy Dennison to the podcast. Hello, Poppy.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good, good. You have had a very busy start of the year. And I think we should start off hearing all about your Bartlett Boys series that kicked off in January. Who are these guys?
These guys are actually based on my family, sort of. So they're not based off of like individual family members. But one of the things that I found that people are really curious about is when we do Thanksgiving in my family, it's for 50 people. So we cook for 50 people every Thanksgiving. I'm one of 12 cousins. And normally about 9 out of the 12 of us are usually at Thanksgiving with all of their kids. So there's 18 great-grands. So my cousins, between all of them, there's 18 children of theirs. It's huge. It's massive. But people are always like, wait, now what? You have how many family members and you speak to them? So I decided I wanted to write a book that sort of captured that huge family environment, that just everybody's in your business. Everybody knows what you're up to. My mama is calling my aunties and she's telling them what's going on. And then they're going to call me and they're going to let me know what they think about what's going on. And yeah, it's just fun. But it's all full of love. I mean, that's the thing. Like I've never not had that, so I didn't know that it was unusual. So I just wanted to try to capture that in the book. So this is 4 of the 12 cousins, these books, and they're all in for a world of meddling with their loving family as they meet their loves and sort of find their happily ever after. So it's fun and it's a romp and lots of family, lots of cousins, lots of aunts and uncles, and it's fun.
How much of it then is autobiographical?
Not as much as you think. What I did was I sat down with a calendar and all of my cousins' birthdays. And so each of the Bartlett cousins has the same birthday as one of my cousins. But other than that, that's really the only part of it that's even at all remotely similar. All of my cousins are... You might be surprised to know that we all have pretty strong personalities. So it would really, I'm not sure how that would work. But yeah, it was too much fun to try to capture. I did capture my brother and one of my cousins were born 2 weeks apart. And so they've always had like a really special relationship because they're basically, I mean, they're almost twins, right? I mean, they grew up together at 2 weeks apart. So all of that. So little details like that snuck in that I thought was just sort of fun little, like what happens when you do have a cousin that lives, 5 minutes away from you, that you were born 2 weeks apart and your parents get together every weekend to play cards and dominoes and, because that's what we did growing up. My mom and her brothers and sisters are her best friends. So, that little details like that are autobiographical, but the rest of it, I mean, nobody would believe me if I tried to capture my cousins' true personalities.
Now, Poppy,
they look mild.
The first book in the series is Family Ties, and that came out in January.
Yes.
And now, correct me if I'm wrong, is this your very first independently published book?
That's kind of a trick question.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Sort of. I don't know if you guys remember, I have 2 paranormal titles that were with Wild City Press.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And so I re-released those titles. I self-published them as a re-release, but this is my first title that I that's gone straight out as a self-published title. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Yes and no.
Tell us about what goes on in Family Ties specifically. Who are the first Bartlett boys that we get to meet?
So the first Bartlett boy is Blake Bartlett. And Blake is actually coming back home. And the town is called Havendale. And since it's set here in Florida where I grew up, I actually grew up in 2 different places. Some of you guys might remember that I grew up in a small town in Tennessee, in East Tennessee, which is where Holly Creek is based, my Holly Creek books. before that, my mom's entire family live in a small town in Central Florida. So I based Havendale on that town where we all grew up. So Blake is coming back home. He was out in Seattle, and he and his husband adopted or had a surrogate and had a daughter. And then he sort of neglected to tell the family that he and his husband split up. He kind of just sort of pushed everybody away and kept it a secret. And unfortunately, his almost ex-husband was killed in a car accident. And so he kind of had no choice but to be honest and tell the family. And so he's kind of coming home under that cloud of pushing the family away. And he was embarrassed because he had pretended that his life was perfect, and it wasn't. But he's coming back home and sort of reestablishing his roots as one of the Bartletts. And it's a lot of fun because the cousins give him a hard time, like we deserve the truth kind of thing, but then once they've sort of forgiven him, which I think is the way it works in a lot of families, it's like, I'm mad at you, but I've forgiven you, and now it's back to just giving you hell about everything that I want to, so it's sort of along those lines. And then he meets Link, who is a construction worker who works for his family's construction business. So needless to say, sparks fly.
Now, with the Bartlett books, and we talked a little bit about this back at GRL, you've named them all after 80s sitcoms.
I did, yes.
So there's Family Ties now. There's Growing Pains coming out in March that we'll talk a little bit about in a few minutes. What are the other titles you have picked that you can share?
I'm happy to share Perfect Strangers and Facts of Life. So it's Family Ties, Growing Pains, Perfect Strangers, and Facts of Life. And I also, in the Heart to Heart charity anthology, I wrote a short story in the Bartlett world that is in the book. I had to call it based on the Heart to Heart titling methodology. It's called the Event Planner and the Electrician. Mm-hmm. When I get the rights back to that and release it, that will be Who's the Boss. So you heard it here first. Nobody else actually knows that, but that one will be. It's not one of the cousins. It's somebody who, it's two people who work with the cousins. So it's sort of a side world there.
How fun was it to come up with these titles, and how many did you actually have written down to come up with these 5?
So many. I mean, I really went through and I just looked it up and like, you guys know Charlie Cochet. She's a very good friend of mine. We sat down and looked, and my roommate, everyone we could come up with, and we just laughed because it's like, and some of them, like Alf, like how can you name something Alf, right? You can't. But, so it's like there's some of those things that we were just sort of like having a good time and kind of laughing and saying, how could you do that? Cheers, like there's some things that you kind of can't parse into actually a story. But I felt like with all of those titles, Growing Pains, it really is an expression. So it's Facts of Life, Perfect Strangers, like all of those things were more universal than just the title of the sitcom. So, but I actually chose Growing Pains first. And I was like, I love that idea that, that there's so many things that you can think about with Growing Pains. And there's so much meaning to that, especially in a romance. And then actually Family Ties ended up being the first story, but yeah, it's fun. And I want to come up with more now just so that I can. I haven't yet. So far these are the only ones, but I definitely think there's hope for more if the readers want.
Very cool. So Growing Pains comes out in March.
Yes.
What's coming for the next Bartlett cousin there?
This one I'm trying my hand at sort of a romantic suspense. But it is in a way, there's a little like mystery involved, but it's poppy style mystery. So no worries, that Cale is one of the younger cousins, and he is a YouTube celebrity chef. YouTube is my social media of choice. I know a lot of people spend a lot of time on Facebook and things. You will rarely find me on social media, but I love watching YouTube videos, I think. And I don't watch a lot of the things that are the sort of like, oh, this guy's dressed up in it like a T-Rex and is chasing people or what, like that sort of stuff. But I like, there's things like, his name, Turtles All the Way Down, John Green. He and his brother do some really amazing things on YouTube, and it's all educational. Their Vlogbrothers channel is wonderful, and I love it. And so I started watching. I will watch anything. I mean, there's a channel called Today I Found Out, and it's just random facts and trivia. Super fun, and like, you know, there's things like, oh, you know, I can't even think of what they are. They're all just really weird and quirky and interesting things, you know. So I watched stuff like that, and then I started watching cooking videos. And the folks who do this are so neat, and they have the neatest personalities. The one gal that I actually based Kale on, she's just such a cute like lady, and her personality is just like, I'm like, man, I want to be her friend, you know. So she just got a deal with the Food Network. So like she just put it out like a week ago, and I was like, oh, that's so exciting. Like, I'm like, I feel like I know her because I've been watching her videos for so long. So Kayla's a YouTube chef, and then he has a little bit of problem with an overzealous fan, and so he meets back up with an old high school nemesis who is now a cop. And so Sean and Kale sort of have a few little problems they have to iron out. So while they're figuring out the nemesis that is his YouTube fan.
So I have to ask,
yeah,
who is this YouTube chef that you found?
Oh, it's the channel that it's The Domestic Geek.
That's a great name.
Yeah, it is. There's another great one called Food Wishes. His chef John, he's really the most amazing things. I watch I'm probably going to say it wrong, Brothers Green Eats. It's a two brothers that they do videos, and there's a really a gal who does a lot of like really health conscious videos called Mind Over Munch. And she does like a lot of meal planning and really healthy. And then there's a gal called Laura Vitale, and she does Italian recipes and just sort of like really family friendly things. And so I sort of like took a lot of all of those people because I enjoy watching them and I love to cook. And so it was like, how can I sort of capture that energy and enthusiasm that they were providing to me as a viewer into a character. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That sounds a lot of fun. And you got new recipes out of it too, I assume, as well.
I did. You should see the list of recipes. I actually am trying to figure out how I can do it. I have a list of every recipe that I'm mentioning in the Bartlett series. Some of them are my family recipes. My dad makes this thing called an onion casserole, and everyone is always like, onion casserole. But it is like every time anybody eats it, they're like, dear God, what is this? I want more. It's just the craziest thing. And it's super bad for you. And so you only have it on Thanksgiving because you can, everybody eats bad at Thanksgiving, right? So things like that.
Now, you mentioned briefly the Heart to Heart anthology that came out for Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Completely adorable story with the wedding planner and the electrician. And it was so your style, too. I could just envision this southern set, kind of sassy wedding planner and this more blue-collar electrician. What was it like to write inside this little world that got created for the anthology? And also blend it with your world?
It was easy for the most part because we, I don't know if you know, they set it up as a Mad Lib. So readers actually submitted different pieces. They sent in characters' names, ages, occupations, and then 3 personality traits. I think there was 3. It's been a minute since I wrote that, but I think there were 3. So we actually had some things character-wise to work on. And then we had this sort of format for the story, which we knew they were going to be sort of opposites attract. So I was so deep into working on the Bartletts at that time that when Leslie's so wonderful that I can't praise her enough. When she asked me if I would participate, I was like, I would have to do it in the Bartlett world because I'm so deep into edits on these books, and they're coming out back to back, and there's 4 of them. And I thought, I don't want to pull myself out of the Bartlett world. So I asked her if it was okay if I created characters that would fit into that universe. And she was like, yes, please do, because she actually had read Family Ties at that point. She had beta read it for me. So it was kind of fun. So it really blended really seamlessly. And I had already had the idea to write. I wanted to do something more with Danielle, who is one of the bossier members of the, and not to give anything away, but she also shares my birthday, conveniently enough. She's a tiny bit bossy. And I just wanted to have fun exploring some of those characters that I knew wouldn't get a lot of page time in the series, just based on how everything had gone as I was writing. So Danielle was one of those that I loved enough to see her do more weddings, which, spoiler alert, you'll see more of Danielle in the fall. But it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. And just having those and seeing it all fit together. But yeah, it was easy, and the books are all so good. Like, everybody knocked it out of the park. There's not one of those stories that's not good. They're all so
it's a great collection.
Yeah. Did you see the paperback is up?
I saw that when I was doing show notes for this current week's episode, that the paperback's actually up. Yes.
It's like, it's so thick. It's like 2.5 inches thick. It's 150,000 words, I think they said.
Wow.
So, I mean, the print version is like, and then they set it at like the rock bottom price that they could, like, because this isn't for us to make money. We weren't trying to, it was hysterical. So we were all like, wow, we really did something special there, very excited about it. So it's very good to see something like that. And it did so well. I mean, it's still doing well, but we raised a lot of money already for our charities. And so it was an honor to be part of it.
That's really good to hear, because we're only 3 weeks in, I guess, as we're recording this.
Yeah. And I don't watch the numbers. That's not it. But they did let us know a few weeks ago that it had done extremely well, and of course still going. So
now you've got yet another series coming online later this year with Coconut Cove. That was a little harder to say with the alliteration than I anticipated.
It is. Now, Coconut Cove is actually another series that was started at Wild City. But at that point, it didn't seem to hit at a time when people were kind of interested. It was a really odd experience, but it's co-written with MJ O'Shea. So I write book 1, MJ writes book 2. And we loved the idea, but it was sort of like this weird thing where the readers didn't seem to find it. So when we got the rights back, we really thought, should we just not do anything with this? And I shared it with Elizabeth North at Dream Spinner, and I was like, will you take a look at these and let me know, if it's something, because it's 6 books and only 1 and 2 had been released. And she was like, give me these books, give them to me right now. Yes, please. And so it was really exciting. So it was it was a project that I had worked on. I think they came out. I don't remember when they came out. It's been years ago that they came out. So it was really fun to sort of revisit that world and where we were then and where we are now. It's because, at that point, gay marriage, not a thing. And now it is. And so some of those things that we actually had to go back in and really tweak because of things that have changed just in the few short years since we wrote those books. And so 3, 4, 5, and 6 have never been read by readers. They're brand new. And then 1 and 2 are re-releases. So very excited. Life's a Beach is the first one, and it's mine, and it will be out in April 20th, I think.
Nice.
April 20th.
Give us an idea what Coconut Cove is about.
Yeah, Coconut Cove is actually a TV show. And it is set, it's one of the first all gay cast TV shows, and it's set at a high school in Key West. So my story starts with a character named Flynn, who is the actor who is going to play the main character on Coconut Cove. And he arrives on set, and there's been a little bit of a scandal. The actor who was originally cast had a little bit of a problem and had to go to rehab. And so they brought Flynn in as a replacement. And so he shows up to this cast that's already, working, and they already know each other. And so he's sort of the new guy, and he has to sort of find a way to fit in. And then he meets one of the local bartenders who's a very nice looking fellow. And they get to know each other through the course of it. And so Seth has absolutely no interest in fame or being famous. He lives in Key West. He runs this bar. He's perfectly happy. And yet he can't seem to stop thinking about this guy who's now going to be famous. And he's like, I don't want to do this, So it's a really interesting sort of dynamic of them trying to figure out if they can make this work. So.
That sounds kind of fun. I like it.
And so each of the stories is one of the actors. It's the story of the actor who is playing the part on Coconut Cove. So, but they're all set in Key West, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to write.
No doubt, it sounds like it.
Yeah, and MJ fans are going to be thrilled. I mean, MJ is so talented, and she's so fun to work with, and we are so different as writers and creators, but having that opportunity to brainstorm with someone who's really, like, we have a lot in common, but we write completely differently. I mean, I guess everybody does, but there's just something about our process, But this was so fun to sort of figure out, like, how to make that work, and things that are like she's known for and is really good at, and things that I'm known for and I'm really good at, and trying to make those meet in the middle. We had a lot of fun with it. I think the readers are really going to like it. I really do. I think that, and both of the first two books are you hit the ground running right there with the cast. So it's a lot of fun.
Was it fun kind of going back and forth between the books for you two as writers and co-writing in that way? So it's co-writing, I guess, in the universe, but not co-writing the book together?
Right. Well, and what we had to do was I wrote my book first, and then I had to send it off to her and wait for her to write hers. And then I got hers back, and then I could write mine because they're set chronologically. So as the season of the show progresses, things are happening to the characters. So it's the first 2 seasons of Coconut Cove occur across 6 books. So we've got season finales to deal with. What happens if a character on the show gets killed off? What happens to the actor? And especially if the love of their life is in Key West, so there's some fun things like that. It was a lot of fun. It was actually difficult waiting to see what MJ was going to come up with, because we sort of brainstormed, this will be the characters from book 1, and this is sort of what's going to go on, and this is so we sort of had that sort of general. But we made the decision to wait so she read my book and then picked up and wrote hers. So it was almost like we were sending chapters back and forth, except it was the book. So they're novellas, so they're shorter. So it was fun. And then I never knew what I was going to get back. Because, you have the sort of general idea, but I didn't know what she was going to do and how she was going to set me up for the next book. So it was exciting. And she's so, come on, MJ O'Shea, she's ridiculously talented. So I really wasn't concerned about it, but it was a lot of fun just kind of seeing that and like getting that set up and sort of the cliffhanger on the shows. But the romances aren't cliffhangers, but we have little segments of the TV show in each book. And so you're sort of like wondering what's going to happen to these actors. So it's fun. It's fun.
I'm glad those are going to see the light of day, because those sound like a lot of fun too.
Yeah, and Reese Sante did the cover. I'll have to send it to you guys so you can see. I already have the cover. It is so beautiful. Like, she captured Flynn. She is so amazing. I just had to give her a shout out. Such a talented artist, and she really, when I told her, it's really difficult to, like, when you're working with your cover artist and you're like, okay, here's the thing. He's playing like a 16-year-old on a TV show, but he's really in his 20s. can you capture that in a stock photo? Like, I had to be so oddly specific about, because, I mean, I'm going to date myself, but you remember like on like 90210,
Oh, yeah.
right? And those actors were all like in their late 20s and they were playing 15 and 16-year-olds, and wasn't the one girl like 30s, in her 30s or something? You guys remember? Anyway, so it always stuck in my head. And even as I watch shows now that have like teenage characters, none of those actors are actually teenagers. So I was like, what must that be like as an actor to play someone? But poor Reese, she did a great job. I can't wait for you guys to see that cover. It's so good. And then the second one in that book will be out in June. So the second one, it'll be the third one, my second one. Oh, yeah, I'm already confused. So mine is out in April. MJ's is out in May. Book 3 will be out in June. So they'll be out every month for 6 months.
Oh, fantastic.
So, month after month. So, yeah. Have I confused everybody enough? Because I'm confused. I don't even know what I have coming out next. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of books.
You've been busy.
I have been busy, and it's amazing. And when you have all this stuff, it's like feast or famine sometimes when you're a writer. Like, you spend all this time developing projects, and then all of a sudden everything seems to like get done at the same time. I mean, I had no idea that all of the Bartlett Boys stuff would be coming out when we got everything ready for Coconut Cove, and to get all that re-edited and redone, and it sort of all hit at once. So it's been sort of fun. I've been sort of going gray. This is not real. This is all from a box. But it's been a lot of fun, and I just can't wait for people to see what I've been up to, because it's been so long since I've really had a book out. But I miss it. I've missed having those reactions to fans and getting those messages that come in and say, when's the next book? And oh my gosh, I can't wait for whichever favorite character. And so it was really funny. I've gotten a lot of messages on the Bartlett Boys, people trying to guess, because I haven't said which cousins are going to get a book, and so everybody's trying to guess which cousins are next. And so it's been really fun, like just having that interaction again.
That's very cool. And you're actually days away from, as we're recording this, you're headed to Coastal Magic, so you'll get to get some in-person reactions. Yes,
I've actually got the first set of paperbacks, and so they just came in, and so I'm the only person who's seen what the paperback looks like for Family Ties, and so it's really fun. So the folks at Coastal Magic will have the first chance to sort of hold those in their hand, and that's always really special. And I think I've never actually had a book where I was sort of there as the first readers got the book. I don't know. It seems weird, but I'm really excited about that moment for some reason, like getting able to put the book in some hands of readers who are going to be there and who have ordered copies from me. And so I'm super excited. I'm super excited.
That's very cool. And you're going to be doing a little corresponding for us at Coastal also.
I am. I can't wait. So last year, God, has it been? It's almost a year ago now. Wow. Last March, when I was in Paris at the salon, I did some video for you guys, and I guess your viewers seem to like it. So I'm going to try again for you and do some from Coastal Magic in Daytona Beach. It's one of my favorite events of the year, and I can't wait for you guys to be able to sort of experience it. And maybe some readers will decide they're tired of the cold and want to come down to Florida, Daytona Beach in February. It's going to be in the 80s, so it'll be, don't know how we're going to manage. It'll be tough. We'll see what we can do.
Well, you've been working extra super hard. I definitely think you deserve some fun in the sun.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we always do have fun at this event in particular. Like, it's always that, you get to go and just have a good time with readers, and there's so many people that, it's a small event, but there's just so many people that we've known and have gotten to see. So yeah, it's going to be nice to have that few days. And I always get rejuvenated by being around readers and other authors. Like, you always come away like bubbling over with ideas. And so maybe I'll actually get my edits done So that might be nice if I could finish the edits on Kale's book on growing pains, so that I can actually, my editor is going to kind of have words with me if I don't get the edits done soon. But minor details. It'll happen.
Okay, well, Poppy, thank you so much for stopping by and talking to us.
You're welcome.
It's been so great to hear about all these projects.
Thanks. I'm really excited.
Fantastic. We'll link up to all of your social and all the books in the show notes.
All right. Sounds good.